What's good, YouTube? So today we're going to be talking about two different things real quick. Two different things, two big hot topics. We're going to be talking about Trump, Elon Musk, the alleged Doge $5,000 stimulus checks. And we're also going to be talking about Palantir because that is a stock I've been talking about for months now. It exploded after earnings back in early February. And now, it's starting to see a big sell off. So we're going to talk about those two things and let's get into it. We'll start off with this video.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions. And we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt, which is, if you look at value, if it were a real estate value.
Okay, so let me just start off with this. I don't think this is something that will happen. And why this is something I don't believe that will happen is because you would need bipartisan support. This would have to be congressionally approved. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, if you've been watching, Democrats are not going to get behind this. They're not going to stand for this. They already do not like a lot of Democrats. I can't say all, and there's Republicans as well. A lot of people do not like Elon Musk having so much oversight, reach, influence, and power in his newfound role in Doge. When it comes to the government, its agencies, they don't believe, that he should be the one doing this. They don't agree with it. They think it's unconstitutional. They think it's illegal. So you can expect to not get bipartisan support on something like this because they don't support it. They don't support Doge, regardless of, how much money it may be saving in its cost cutting measures. And secondly, we've seen a few times where, some of the numbers have been reported by Doge as far as, how much money, how many billions of dollars they are getting via savings. We've seen some of those things be debunked. We've seen figures get changed, and things like that. So I think it's too early for something like this to be on the table. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think even if, we did have the money to do something like this, I don't see it getting bipartisan support and getting passed through Congress. Another thing is this: if we did have that on the table as an option, I think it should all be applied towards national debt. We now have a $36 trillion deficit. And, Speaker Mike Johnson also chimed in and said that he believes that, if something like this was to be an option, that he also believes that it should be paid towards debt. So we're already seeing, different people have different, outlooks on it, different perspectives. But something like this would need bipartisan support and it would need to be passed by Congress. And, President Trump is already dealing with slim margins when it comes to Congress and getting things passed through. And, a lot of Democrats see a lot of the work that's been done by Doge now as unconstitutional, illegal. A lot of people think they're moving hastily. You have judges blocking this and you have this being said and that being done. So don't get your hopes up for those $5,000 stimulus checks via Doge. Don't get your hopes up. All right, so now we'll talk a little bit about Palantir. Palantir is a big topic. They've dominated the headlines, for their growth. We've seen tremendous growth in 2024. We've seen tremendous growth in 2025 over the last month. Really, year to date, they've been doing amazing. But let's watch this video and then we'll get into Palantir a little bit.
This is the stock. Yeah. Welcome back to Squawk Box. Shares of Palantir plunged yesterday, closing lower by about 10%, and they're falling in extended trading right now. You can look at them this morning off about 2.5% again. Regulatory filing on Tuesday night revealed that the CEO, Alex Karp, has adopted a new stock trading plan that would allow him to sell nearly 10 million shares of the company's stock over the next 6 months. Now, separately, the Washington Post reported yesterday that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
One thing people need to realize is, because, I get this question sometimes, when a CEO is selling shares of a stock, that is not a situation where you should be, oh, he's selling, I need to go sell. You need to remember that, a lot of these CEOs, they get paid out in stock. How will they make money? They have to sell that stock in order to be able to receive the monetary benefit from that. So just because a CEO is selling does not mean that you should be selling. It does not mean that you should be selling. So, I just want to say that because a lot of people, you may see this person selling or that person selling. You may see it No.
has now ordered senior Pentagon leaders to develop a plan to slash the defense budget over the next half decade. That, of course, had been expected and anticipated. In truth, I would have thought, given the role of Elon Musk and Doge and everything else.
Okay, so those were the two catalysts, for why we seen Palantir drop. The CEO, announced a plan to sell a lot of shares. We got 10 million or something like that, a lot of shares. And then we heard the defense cut, as far it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't change how I feel about Palantir. It doesn't change what we've seen in the earnings. It doesn't change the numbers. It just doesn't change the fundamentals. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't just rely on, as we've seen in the numbers in the last earnings, they don't just rely on their government contracts. We've seen in those numbers that the commercial business is doing tremendous. So for those of you that forgot, let's just go over the numbers a little bit. This is from Q4 earnings, February 3rd. Revenue came in at a beat. Estimates were 776 million. They came in at 828 million. Earnings per share, estimates were 11 cents per share. They came in at 14 cents per share. EBITDA was 315 million. They came in at a beat of 380 million. This is a stock that, if you're looking at PE, I guess you could say it's expensive, 174 times. 174 time PE, at least what it's showing here. It could change, these numbers change every day. I'll have to look on uh Yahoo Finance and look Yahoo Finance, look at the numbers. But relatively speaking, for me, this is not an expensive stock for where I expect Palantir to go over the next 5 to 10 years. Palantir is one of those companies that I believe is going to be a very dominant player, and they're going to be a very key piece, to not only government agencies, but the commercial sector, businesses being able to utilize this AI software in order to effectively run their companies and be able to be more efficient when it comes to their decision making. Palantir is elite in that regard. So let's look at something else. Let's look at something else because this is what I need you to rely on when you're seeing the news, when you see people sell off, when you start seeing some of this macro news, and this is what I need you to rely on: your research, your fundamentals, the numbers, so that you don't get shaken out of a good company. Granted, if you've been in Palantir since last year and you got into it early last year, around this time last year, and you rode it all the way up to here, I don't have a problem with you taking profit. I don't have a problem with that at all. But let's just look into this. We'll pull up Yahoo Finance real quick. This is what. Let me refresh this. Okay, Palantir closed at 101.35 today. They're up a little bit after hours, but they were down almost 5% today. In the market. Now, a lot of people, they see this red and they, oh my God, Palantir is falling. Palantir is down 5% on the day. They're down 14% in the last week. I need you to touch grass. I need you to zoom out a little bit. You don't even got to zoom out far. Look at the bigger picture. Are they down? Yes. This is merely just a pullback. They're on a crazy run. Look at the monthly. They're still up 38% on the month. We were here in earnings, ran all the way up here. We've pulled back. 6 months, we're up 211% over the. Look at this. So you see this ran up, had earnings, bumped up again, had earnings, bumped up again, and I believe when do they have earnings again? Because we're seeing a trend. They did it the last two times. They've done it the last two times. We've had earnings, and then we've seen a run up. And the next earnings is scheduled for May 5th, I believe. May 5th. So if it follows this trend, we should see them, of course, cool down and possibly go up for another leg up. But we'll just have to see, man. Palantir is one of those stocks that's been going absolutely crazy since, really, what was this? Around, really, since this earnings in what's that, November 2024, they've been on a run since. They've been look at year to date. Look at year to date, still up 34. Yeah, so yeah, Palantir, they're under decline. This little pullback is nothing. You know, don't get shaken out your position. Don't get shaken out your position. But let me run these numbers by you real quick, just in case you forgot. This is a company that in Q4 2024 alone, they closed 129 deals of at least $1 million or more, 58 deals of which were at least $5 million or more, 32 deals of at least $10 million or more. When I'm talking about deals, I'm talking about contracts with different organizations, companies, businesses, whatever it may be. They ended the quarter with $5.2 billion in cash equivalents and U.S. Treasury securities and no debt. See what I'm saying? And then we get the guidance. We get to guidance for the first quarter of 2025. They expect a revenue of between 858 million to 862 million. And also for full year 2025 expectations, they expect a revenue of between 3.74 billion to 3.75 billion. Also, this is the key. Palantir is one of those companies that we used to just say, okay, they have a stronghold on the government sector. They have government contracts, the Army, the Pentagon, all these different places. But that's not the case anymore. They are accelerating and they are expanding their business to the commercial sector. And we've seen that prevalent in the last earnings. They had magnificent numbers when it came to their commercial business unit. But they expect in 2025 commercial revenues in excess of about 1.7 billion, representing a growth rate of at least 54%. I said 1.7, 1.07, and an adjusted income from operations between 1.5 billion and 1.56 billion, adjusted free cash flow between 1.5 billion and 1.7 billion. So as you can see, Palantir is growing rapidly. They're accelerating. This is a company that, is gaining more and more and more and more business from the commercial sector. They recently extended a contract with the Army, I think a $400 million contract. We see them getting contract after contract, closing deal after deal, expanding their reach. In a lot of businesses, a lot of organizations, government agencies are finding their services to be essential to their businesses. See what I'm saying? So, and when you look at this, like I said, you zoom out, up 38% this month, year to date, up 34%. Don't pay if you're a long-term investor, at least. We don't care about what it did for the day. We don't care about what it did over the week. We don't care about this. This is what we care about. Look at all time. This is what we care about. We want to buy it down here and we want to see it go up gradually. 5 year, we want to see it grow up gradually. 1 year, we want to see that growth. We want to see that growth continue. We want to see this. We want to see our companies have growth expectations. We want to see them have a moat. We want to see room for our companies to grow. We want to see them innovating, and that's what we see from Palantir. Now, one more thing, because I got to bring it up. Today, we've had a crazy day. Let me pull up this heat map. So this is FinViz. We $927 billion was wiped out from the US stock market today. The worst day in the stock market this year in 2025 by far. And as you can see, a lot of our big companies were down today. We're down today. Now, this isn't that big of a deal. When I see this, what I see are I get to looking for buying opportunities. Me personally, I get to looking for buying opportunities. And a lot of people in the space that are in my circle, we all get to looking for buying opportunities. You've seen some of this in crypto as well. You've seen a lot of red. And you have to understand there is a ton of macro news. There's a ton of macro news coming out every single day, whether it be from Doge, whether it be from Trump and these trade wars, mass deportations, tensions with other countries, news in regards to our tech companies, in regards to semiconductors, in regards to a lot of things. There's a ton of macro news that affects stocks every single day. And you have to look at things from a long-term perspective. You have to look at things from a long-term perspective, because if you do not, if you are easily shaken and you let this news, rattle you too much, you can't do it. You gotta kind of get, a little callous with the news. Yes, you have to pay attention to it. You have to take it into account. You have to factor it into your decision making, but you have to be real with yourself and you have to really sit back and analyze, okay, this is the news today. How does this play out and how does it affect my investment 5 to 10 years from now? Or how does the news that came out today affect my investment, in the midterm? Does this completely derail things? You know, you got to be able to gauge that. because we had DeepSeek, and then you see our semiconductor stocks fall, and then you see people start to question Nvidia and this and that, and a lot of people didn't do the full research. A lot of people didn't look into DeepSeek's numbers. They took it at face value. When now we know that some of those numbers were stretched. Now we know that some of those numbers were fabricated. They left out numbers and all types of stuff. But the point is, don't get shaken out. Do your research. Believe in your research. Believe in your fundamentals. And you know, just I don't know, man. I don't know. You have to be able to build up discernment, in this game when it comes to investing. When I've talked about investor identity before, you have to know, how you're going to react to certain situations. You have to know what to expose yourself to, what type of investments to expose yourself to, because some of these investments, they run up fast and they'll drop fast. You got to know if you can't handle seeing your account down, you know, 50 50%, 10, 20, 30%. You may not want to invest in some of these stocks that run up and run down real crazy. You might not want to invest in your Teslas. You may not want to invest in, some of these semiconductor chip stocks, some of these tech stocks, because some of them are volatile. Some of them are volatile. You have to know your investor identity. You have to know your risk tolerance and be able to, make a plan first and foremost. Make a plan and then stick to it. Be disciplined in your investing. And don't get shaken out by every piece of macro news that comes out. But I'm yapping. If you got anything from this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.